Now, the National Union for Metal Workers of South Africa, NUMSA, says that they welcome the decision of the Labour Court to dismiss the contempt of court application, which was lodged by the former second Deputy President, Ruth Ntlokotse. Now, Ntlokotse filed an urgent application at the Labour Court where she was asked, she asked the court basically to overturn the decision of the National Congress and the court to declare the 11th National Congress of NUMSA null and void. Ntlokotse claimed that NUMSA failed to comply with the order of Justice Mushwana, which interdicted the Congress, and she wanted the court to declare the NUMSA General Secretary, Irvin Jim, and the President, Andrew Chirwa, in contempt of court. So for more, we joined right now by NUMSA's General Secretary, Irvin Jim, just to speak more about this. Welcome and thanks for speaking to us here on Morning Live.
Good morning to viewers, Sagina.
So let's talk about this latest outcome from the court. So what exactly does it mean?
Well, Sagina, we think that it should be business as usual from now onwards. I think that we have gone through a very difficult time in processing a national congress. Our mandate would have lapsed for some time. We're supposed to have gone to a national congress in 2020, and COVID hit us, and we were in a crisis. We couldn't proceed. We would have then thought that 2021 will be better. Health and safety protocols for COVID were not allowing us. We couldn't find an appropriate venue and so forth. But in 2022, we said to ourselves, we must go ahead with the Congress. In fact, the plan was such that we will not be looking for one venue. If we could separate workers, put them in this venue, others in another venue, connect them virtually, have a discussion, and we had to basically have some consultants to do this for us. We successfully find a venue which was not cheap. I saw you wanting to kill parks for the cost that we had to pay for being in the ICC in Cape Town. But this is an investment we did over time to ensure that we renew our mandate, because you can't continue to think that you are going to lead workers without going back to them to renew your mandate. And of course, couple of months we were hit by a snag where a couple of individuals at the beginning of 2022 began to launch this campaign on matters that these matters would have been raised, for instance, in the Central Committee. And they are not many. I think when it started, it was two individuals who are trustees who sit in the Workers' Trust of the NUMSA, where NUMSA Investment Company is supposed to account. They came back to the CC complaining that they are not happy, the NIC is not accounting, raising all sorts of stuff. And the Union Central Committee discussed the matter and concluded that a meeting between the NUMSA Investment Board and the Trust and the NUMSA National Office Bearers must take place to basically deal with all these allegations and concerns. And before we know it, at the beginning of this year, because almost all our 9 regions would have to go to regional congresses to prepare for the national conference. And then in the actual campaign, I think 2 regions, Eastern Cape and Western Cape leadership, began to campaign openly using the very same issues that were supposed to be subject of debate. And they would have written to external bodies, they would have written to the president. But what we then immediately experienced was that whatever letter, including the previous second deputy president, Comrade Ruth, including her letter, they find their way into Amapungane, into Ground Up, almost in a manner. When you look at this, it's coordinated. Of course, my ugly face would have been in all media houses and so forth, in front line, in front pages of the newspapers. And a couple of NUMSA regions would have taken offense to this, and they would have written to the president saying that they need an NEC which can debate this matter. And we ended up in an NEC that debated this matter, which felt very strongly that the individuals who wrote these letters, you would remember that you would appreciate that some of them, when we met on the 5th and 6th of February as national office bearers, we said, let's quell down the people, because the trigger, by the way, of them circulating these letters would have been the fact that I would have deposed an affidavit which was about to support the NIC 360 Life to be taken out of curatorship by prudent authority. That's a big issue that Comrade Ruth Tlogosa made a big issue about, that look, from where she's sitting, we're not supposed to do this and so forth. We said we're not saying that this is perfect, NIC and 360 Life was perfect. However, this is a strategic company for workers which delivers all benefits, funerals, and so forth. And if it ends up being liquidated, we can't fold arms. So we did depose an affidavit. That's what was being used. And the national leadership would have then said, listen, it's about time that everybody, we will give you a platform to discuss these issues. Can you accept that this matter for now is sub judice, it is in court, and so forth. But we were openly defied. And the union then took a decision to suspend, if I'm right, about 5 individuals that were directly affected by this. And where did we end up? We ended up, as the Congress was approaching, we had the SAFTU Congress, which had its own dynamics and politics, which were taxing to the union, to the extent that we were divided as a result of this matter that spilled out over to SAFTU, where the situation where the union would have taken a decision to discuss what it wanted to influence SAFTU about, the leadership that we wanted to emerge, and where the name of Comrade Mac Shabalala, who was there, suspended 4 of them on circumstances that the union was not happy at all about. And we challenged that. And when we were in the Congress, we find out that Comrade Ruth Tlogosa was standing against the mandate that the union would have carried, which necessitated the union to say, we're not going to tolerate this. This is ill discipline. You are an individual. You should subordinate to the majority. That's the principle of how the union operates. We ended up then on the eve of the national conference in a situation where basically our Congress was interdicted. I took a flight to land in Cape Town on Saturday with a conference resuming on Monday. All delegates from all countries, from all 9 provinces were already there. And we had to then say, look, what do we do? The conference is interdicted. We met as the national leadership. We convened a central committee, and we had to comply. If you convene a central committee, you can't just say, you must have a 48-hour notice. That's what we did, which meant that the conference had to stand down Monday and Tuesday until we have a central committee, which basically look at the instruction and the judgment, and we sat down and agreed that we will comply with the judgment. We'll do everything that the judgment said we should do, such as making sure that it's the credentials committee, even though we account to the central committee, but the judge was very clear that the credentials committee must be the one that accredit the delegates to the Congress. We would have put one of our region, Mpumalanga, under administration. Of course, that has been politicized. But if truth be told, we had 2 regions that would have collapsed. It would have been Ekurhuleni, it would have been Mpumalanga, and their Congress, just comrades fighting among themselves. We succeeded in Ekurhuleni to take the region to the Congress, and Mpumalanga 2 times the regional conference collapsed. And then the view of the union was that how do we allow a region which has not gone with a mandate and so forth? You're going to run to all sorts of things, because the coordination of launching locals, going to the regional conference, it must be done by a properly constituted regional executive committee. And we had to accept that the judge did not agree. He says, no, we do not agree. We uplifted that particular suspension. We uplifted all suspensions of people who were suspended. At the people who were suspended by the NEC, they were the 5. Other people would have been people who were being disciplined by regions. We had no role to play. But in the political chemistry and campaign is that Ivan Jim and Chirwa and the national office bearers were coordinating this so that they walk in the park in the National Congress. These were individuals who were going to contest, and that's the propaganda. But I think that we had a successful conference under those difficulties. But then after the conference, the very same individuals, they coordinated among themselves. Clearly, they are being funded. They are very resourceful. They went to court to say they are nullifying the Congress. They want me and President Chirwa in jail. And I mean, SAFTU has got a Congress. We could not even have a mobilization for this campaign because, let's face it, the very same president who is taking us to jail is the president from NUMSA, is the president from the Federation. And the recent past couple of days have been very difficult because we have to defend that conference.
All right. We're going to go to news.
We're happy
with
the outcome of the
We're going to come back and we'll unpack a lot of what you have stated now just to get clarity on some of these matters. So at 7 o'clock, Leanne standing by with the news, and then we'll come back to this conversation with Jim.